Hi there, and welcome back to part 2 of Bleckmann's Beyond Threat podcast, where we are looking at macroeconomic trends and how they fit into the circularity models of today. I'm still joined by my colleague Nicole Bassett. And
hi, great to be back.
Let's dive back into it straight away. So when we take all that you've just said and try to make it more tangible, is there any way that you can give examples of businesses that have successfully implemented those circular models?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot, and you can see them across multiple industries as well. So we'll take fashion and apparel lifestyle. I mean, there is a number of companies today who have incorporated repair or resale or rental models into their businesses because they're trying to figure out how do we use this asset, our product, longer and create more business around that product. Phones, and so companies like Apple and Android and Fairphone, you don't have to get a new phone every time you have a software upgrade. No. Like, we figured out how to be able to keep a product in use longer and do upgrades from afar. And then even Fairphone takes it a step further and has really designed the phone around how to replace parts and batteries and things so that you actually can use the product a lot longer. Food industry, there used to be a lot of food waste because it didn't look right. And so you see a lot of new companies coming up and saying, well, wait a minute, we could freeze that product or dehydrate that product or create interesting snacks. You're also seeing a lot of meat alternatives coming to the market to say, how do we feed us on this finite planet? The car industry is a classic one I always refer to. A car company's revenue is not just from new cars anymore. 30 to 50% is coming from used cars or services. And then Bleckmann, for example, in logistics, providing circular logistics services that says, hey, the way we do logistics is not one direction, but we're actually building the structure so that items can come back and that they can get repaired. And we're building on new models like resale and recycling. So we're keeping products in use longer.
Yeah.
And so these examples just highlight that circularity is not just an environmental choice. It's a strategic business decision that enhances profitability and consumer engagement. And it builds a lot of resiliency and sort of risk abatement for a company.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I, for one, as an employee of Bleckmann, but also more specific in my business development role, I'm very proud of what we as a company are doing, and not sticking to what we have always done and what has been successful in the past, but continuously reinventing ourselves and evolving with the needs of the planet, but also the changing requirements from a legislative perspective. So I'm hook, line, and sinker all that you've just said. So thank you for that. And but when you look at the entrenched current system, to what extent do you think that circular economy is truly achievable and will be the next normal in the decades to come?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask right now. Like, if you open my news app and you're just and no one is thinking about the environment right now. There is so much going on in a geopolitical way that why would this actually come around? And I think it's important not to be naive about this. But the way I look at it is that there are we're at a really interesting inflection point where there are sort of two paths occurring simultaneously. Mm-hmm. You've got this one path where people are taking this really protective approach to the current systems and models. And they're trying to squeeze as much as they can out of that last old technology or old way of working. And they're asking for legislation to protect it or trying to throw technology to protect it. But it is an industry that just doesn't have a future. And coal is a great example where there's a lot of lobbyists who are trying to protect this innovation because it really served us well and it provides jobs and there's infrastructure for it. And so I get why we're trying
it's
to
not
like,
untrue.
Yeah, it's not untrue. It's there, and finding alternatives is something that takes time. So that is existing, and you have this other group of people who are saying, "Hey, I see where we need to be in 50 years from now, and I'm going to start bringing about the change that needs to happen. So I'm going to start bringing businesses or innovations or new business model ideas." In line with like an economy that has created the boundaries of working on a finite planet. And I believe that that path is not only possible, but really is inevitable. We've reached a number of planetary boundaries already, and we're going to get to a point either by design or by necessity that our economy will have to evolve. And so businesses that recognize that shift now will be the ones that have a head start in the future. And this transition is not going to be immediate, but that's why you're seeing these indicators out in the market that are saying, yeah, we should start measuring carbon. We should start measuring happiness and health of the community. Yeah. And entrepreneurs are starting to ask for this in policy. And so you may not see all the laws enacted yet, but there's a lot of push for new policy that's starting to incorporate these things so that we're measuring value beyond GDP. And we're entering an era where businesses are regenerative and distributive, and they are going to define the success and allow us to have an economy in the future.
Yeah, so I, for one, would like to see that the changed measurements and their results would trigger a change out of design instead of depleting the materials and the sources that we have right now and change out of necessity, because by then the impact to the environment will potentially be irreversible. So it needs to be done now and not eventually. I agree. Unfortunately, Nicole, this is all the time that we have today. So allow me to thank you very much for being with us again. I always appreciate your insights. Without a doubt, our listeners and viewers will have the same feeling. How can they reach out to you whenever they want to discuss or have additional questions?
Yeah, so you're welcome to reach out to me and follow me on LinkedIn. And then please check out Bleckmann's website. There's a ton of resources, white papers, and podcasts and discussions around circularity that you can learn a lot more about.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. And thank you all for joining us today. I hope that you have learned and you have heard new stuff like I have. And I hope to see you soon in the next episode of Beyond Threats by Bleckmann. Thanks.